Hello, TheKiest's here. Welcome to another episode of OPERI, and this time we're going to be talking about Shoryuken Sunday #1. This was a treat. I have been so excited for this event. I've actually been... we'll just dive into... for those who haven't been to OPERI, so pretty much this is my TO talk of where I talk about the origins of the event, the preparations of the event, which is things leading up to the day of or the minute of the event, execution, what actually happened at the venue during the run. This is all factual, and then reflection, that's all subjective based on what happened at execution, and then finally iterations, what we're doing different next time and stuff. So pretty much going to origins again. So I have actually had this event planned, I think, since, or just the idea of this event. Man, I'm looking at my watch. Probably since Silent Fight. This is an old one. Well, no, well, pretty much I had the idea of since first Tekken Caliber. We'll just put that. Pretty much what's happening these days is all of the... It's not oversaturation of tournaments, it's more of the scenes getting so large that we can finally do this. Before, the fighting game community was so small that it needed every title to come together in order to make an event. You just could not pay for the venue. To give an example, renting Momo's, the Seasons Beatings tournaments back in the Columbus Day, was $6 grand for the day because they had to close all business that day and not reflect any more stuff. So, in order to get that, you can't just run Street Fighter 2 or Street Fighter Third Strike at the time, or Marvel 2. Games aren't enough to pull that in, so you pull in as many as possible, and that pull in gets people to like talk and stuff, and it becomes the fighting game community. Which back then, if you only had 300 entrants at your event, that's not that bad. Now we're getting to the point where we're getting 300 entrants for our regionals, and we're getting thousands for our majors, and all of a sudden, all this time is being committed to make sure those 3,000 are correctly being intertwined and all that, which is great, but do we need that every tournament for 10 years? And my answer is no. I think specialized events is the next wave. As scenes become large enough to support their own cheaper venues, yes, we're not going to get an event like, gosh dang, we're not going to get a combo breaker for just Tekken events. Well, maybe one day, but the point is that the Tekken players themselves would rather have at least when I noticed with Tekken Caliber, is that the Tekken players would rather have an event dedicated just to Tekken, where you don't have to worry about, like, oh, sorry, we can't stream you because we're still wrapping up Street Fighter and you guys don't have as many entrants as Street Fighter. No, you get the whole stream for Tekken Caliber games. And this all started because Tekken 7 was large enough. So what does this have to do with Street Fighter? Street Fighter is odd because there are so many passionate players that actually hate the other Street Fighters. There's a few that like all of them, don't get me wrong, and there's some that like try others out of respect and stuff, but man, I was in 4 as a competitive player, and I was also in 5 as a competitive player, kind of am now, not as much, and I also played a lot of Super Turbo events, and I met a lot of people this way, and it's like, all the hardcore ST fans cannot stand the other 3 Street Fighters. All the SF4 players cannot stand the other Street Fighters, and SF5, even the new guys that come in, they play the other games, then, well, some will say it's too hard. I know they're not bad, but it's just that's the first impression they're getting because they can't even throw DP because the game's making them throw DPs, essentially. So, pretty much... It's kind of funny. So the point is that, like, you don't get players transitioning from one Street Fighter to another like you do with Tekken. Tekken, we might have disliked a Tekken looking back in hindsight, but we've always loved playing the Tekkens and competing in them because that's what the community did and stuff. So pretty much the idea is that altogether these SFs could support their own venue. and that's what Shoryuken Sunday is supposed to be about. Is SF5 can't do it on its own. Well, maybe it can, but not in Ohio. Maybe other places it can, but not in Ohio. Street Fighter 3 can't, Street Fighter 2 can't, Street Fighter 4 can't. And because all the players are so passionate about their one Street Fighter, you're gonna get you're gonna get 4 players who each entered a separate Street Fighter game and only entered that Street Fighter game. And if you advertise to those 4, then if your tournament only has 4 people in it, but all 4 of them are uniquely to that game, then that's 16 entrants, and you start getting that larger, then you're paying for a venue all of a sudden. You're starting to hit that. I guess I should start with that. I think, at least in Columbus, most venues need around 24 minimum to kind of make it work. And it needs to be consistent. So, like, technically, Shoryuken Sunday, we'll get to that later, was kind of a failure in that aspect, but 24 is kind of, I think, your thing you want to aim for. If you can get a scene that consistently hits 24, then you can pretty much get any venue that has some sort of venue fee, whether it's like $5 a head or whatever, because that's enough money to where the business owners is going to be, like, you might make that venue, but it's enough people that show up that the venue owner is more importantly going to let you keep running events there. For example, if back when I ran events at Xenos, if I only had 10 people and those 10 people aren't even buying food and stuff, then, like, what's the point of them being there? They're going to try to double book us over a birthday party or a bar mitzvah or something, which is kind of what's happening over Donatus Weekly. Point is, if you're getting 24 people to show up at your tournament, I think you can pretty much get almost any reasonable venue that even has, like, decent internet these days. Columbus were blessed, and this is not a hard requirement, but I practice high-level TO as best I can, so I think this is that kind of a harder requirement. We could do this at Donatos, it'd be fine. We did it at Game Arena, it was fine. We'll get more into that details later. Close quarters would be okay with this amount too. They're forgiving about it, especially since the idea is we get more people. And Coffee Underground is pretty much a church, so they don't care if we had 3 entrants or stuff. But not every place is like that. The point of this video is more to give transparency of my thought why you need this many. And it's 24. And I think between SF5, which you can definitely get more than 6 people, Super Turbo in Columbus is huge. You definitely get more than 6 people for that. SF4, I'm not as sure of. We'll get more to that in reflection and stuff. That was actually the one that surprised me this weekend. And then SF3, there's a weird niche of people that actually ask me quite often, hey, is Third Strike ever at Donatos? And I think that's the most requested game, even over Dragon Ball Fighters and Mortal Kombat right now, is like, hey, do people play Third Strike anywhere? I'll get that quite a bit. We didn't really see that this weekend, but the point is that all this makes me think that, yeah, as long as I run these 4 Street Fighter games, I can run a Shoryuken Sunday that's just Street Fighter focused, and it'll be great. So yeah, pretty much with all that in mind, why not just make a Tekken Caliber clone? Essentially just, you know, whatever I do for Tekken Caliber, just do it for Street Fighter. Just kind of at a different... We'll get more into that in the preparations in a sec. So I kind of already explained the which games and why, but I'll kind of just do it again. So we have ST, has a big following in C-Bus. We even have like 2 Super Gun setups. Third Strike has a, I'll call it a popular niche game, like maybe Skullgirls is slightly ahead. SF5 already has 2 weeklies in C-Bus, and more importantly, players travel for it. And then finally, SF4 is like the golden boy, you know? The gold's been rusted a little bit, but it's okay. I think it's back. Game's fun. There's a lot of nostalgia to it, especially if you travel, because it's a huge part of FGC history in general. And it might bring people back for it. At least those who just want to play it again, you know? Like, I remember back in the day when I could just FADC into Ultra 2 and win the match. And it's better than V-Trigger, because I have to hit 4 more buttons in order to do it. Anyways, but in seriousness though, there's people that really like this game and they'd be willing to play it again. Just gotta get them out and stuff. So ends the Origins. It was a long one, but it was the first one of its series, so next time I do an OPERI for Shoryuken Sunday 2, won't be as long, you'll just kind of get more in that stuff. So, preparations, venue, Game Arena. Why did I pick Game Arena? SF5 players love Game Arena. They love how esports it is versus close quarters, which is more, I guess it's more like, I don't want to say grassroots, but I'm going to say it until I come up with a better word. There is a little drama I'm not going to talk about with close quarters Street Fighter scene versus Game Arena. But the other thing too is, I don't want to say I feel bad about it because I kind of don't. So a lot of events I have chosen not to run at Game Arena because I wanted other TOs to have a chance to run it first at Game Arena, and we've had that for almost a year now. I decided it was finally my turn because they've done so much for me and my followers, as in like the people I've taught how to TO. So, you know, and it's a Sunday event, so I knew it wasn't going to like really damage them or any way. And they want to help. They've always wanted to work with me too. I'm not going to say I blew them off, but I've always preferred to being my own group. I mean, freaking like logo shirt for crying out loud. And people who try to work with me outside of Columbus know this especially because I only work with like Columbus people in general. But at the same time, there was other venues I thought needed it more, and there was other TOs who deserve this opportunity to work with them more, and that's where a lot of the Smash Ultimate guys are. And they're doing a fantastic job with their weeklies, and they do occasional monthlies there. We've got our big cost event. And I think they're even working with Smashers for larger events that are even outside of Game Arena's own venue. Don't take my word for it. Point is that I wanted to work with them too. The scene liked the place a lot, so give them what they want. So we went with that. So the stream, GA was going to stream this one because I think it's kind of like one of they want to do it. That might have changed. Maybe I'll try to get Matchstick for the next one if they'll let me, and they might. And, you know, Big Boss is technically watching this right now, but that's okay. I kind of wanted to get more GA involved because of kind of back of what I was saying earlier. So GA was the stream and stuff. So the banner, I've had some, I don't want to say complaints, but comments about my banner. I kind of did it on purposeful, like old cockatoos, and even though Saul helped me build this and he could have probably built a much better one, I wanted to keep it simple for two reasons. One is kind of goes back to my old cockatoo ways, is I want to, actually I guess there's really only one reason. I want to make a banner that has the bare minimum so that people don't feel discouraged from trying to make their own or giving them a shot. Because I guess one of the things you're kind of seeing is, I'm going to call it content gatekeeping. And it doesn't happen enough yet, but it's a pattern I'm starting to see where, like, if you can't do this, or if you can't like produce an image that's as good as another company or another org or another like local grassroots scene who has a graphics designer full-time who gets to have his personal laptop on him or something while at his normal job, you can't compete with that. And so then people don't try. But that's not what this is kind of about. This is about a Street Fighter event. So I want, and I'll mention this in narration where I'm talking about this part here, but I want Street Fighter players and Street Fighter related content creators, whether it is a TO or Game Arena or not, I want them to be making the stuff, not the TO, and I want them to be making the stuff in a way that encourages other people who aren't necessarily as good as landing your V-trigger setups or landing your MIDI run frame setups or can't read the situation as well as like Rob TV can. I want people who like Street Fighter to have a place where they can help the scene grow, and they can do that through their art, and they can do that through their Photoshop skills, they can do that through their video editing skills, they can do that through their photography. So I kind of wanted to set the bar really low with how simple this was so that people can then go, hey, I can make you a better one if you want, and I've gotten a few of those, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it for the next one. I feel if I made the banner too good, you're not going to get people who want to volunteer for this stuff, and I think that's more important. We need each other to keep producing more stuff. It's not just about the players, it's not just about the TOs anymore. That age is over. We need even more specialized talent, and you're starting to get that. It's starting to drip down well beyond the majors and even into our regionals and stuff, where we are looking at hiring photographers. We are looking at getting, like, I don't know, skit producers or other things like that, or coming up with posters and artist alleys and stuff. So kind of enough on this subject. Next is setups. I made it PS4, and for those who don't know, PS4 is not preferred across all SFs. I'm even going to say Street Fighter V is not preferred. They probably prefer PCs. But they're stuck with PS4 because of Capcom Pro Tour. Reason I did it, because anytime I have a first new event, I worry about setups. And the PS4 one's the easiest one to do this with, because Ultra Street Fighter is free if you have PSN Plus right now. And Ultra and the Anniversary Collection is now $20, maybe $25. Yeah, I think I got it for $25 at a local shop, and that includes 2 and 3. You don't have to unlock anything. No bull crap patch to download. There is an update to Super Turbo, which we'll get to more later. And then SF5's SF5. Nothing I can do about that one. So, the next one, we'll go more into that later. I guess the other part I'll mention, which is kind of because I know some Smashers are watching, this is during Big House weekend, and it's funny. The thing I've learned over the years is sometimes the best time to plan a tournament is during a major of a scene that's not compatible, or the major itself isn't necessarily compatible with the fan base you're trying to attract. So for those who don't know, Big House is a major Melee event that also runs the most current Smash on top of it, which is Ultimate. I think this year Ultimate finally beat it in number of entrants, but it's usually perceived as like the big Melee major in the Midwest. And then Smash Ultimate's just as big, so people are okay with calling that an Ultimate major as well. And that was up in Michigan. Which means no one's throwing events. Like, all the venues are open. It's kind of funny that way. If I was still in the Smash era, if I was still a Smash TO, I would have ran the monthly this weekend as well, because not everyone can go to Big House. And you kind of make a party out of it when you do that. I'll sometimes have these Tekken Calibers where I'll try to schedule it during a major of a Tekken event. Because one of the cool things is you have your tournament. Clearly you advertise in a way, hey, you know what? You should go to Big House. We also know you're a human being, so if you can't go to Big House, come to my event. We'll play games, we'll money match, we'll have our bracket, we'll do our amateurs bracket, we'll do our pools, we'll do our doubles. We'll also have Big House up on the stream and up on the venues and stuff, so that we can all make it a viewing party afterwards and stuff, and those are great events. So I kind of, and I think too many people put too much weight on scheduling their events during the same time as majors. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because normally this is true with FGC events. If I'm running a FGC event, as in it has all the different games, during the same weekend as Combo Breaker, I'm not going to get a lot of entrants. And thus, I'm not getting as many as I expected, because I'm expecting all the scene to go and stuff. But if you're aiming for a specialized event, and these specialized events get large enough, then it's kind of hard to explain it. Then you're getting a guess of how many Tekken players you're losing, but you're also not losing your Street Fighter players, and not losing your Dragon Ball fighters, and not losing your anime players, and all that just kind of stacks up to all these subpar tournaments. But if it's just only Tekken, or in this case for this OPERI, only Street Fighter, the people there we're already, you're not losing an entire day. You're only losing like a half a day or a quarter of a day because you know, you might only get 4 entrants for your Street Fighter bracket instead of your 16 you were expecting, but you did it during Combo Breaker because you had to, otherwise there was no major. But those 4 people have a great time. Then you watch Combo Breaker, and your event becomes more spun around that, and you become more about celebrating the Street Fighter franchise in the Midwest or in Ohio for just the earliest sets. And I think there's too many, and then I know other TOs and other orgs, they kind of depend more on their stream, or they have a good stream and they're trying to get more viewers by running a tournament. But if you have none of that involved, like I have none of that up here in my Origins and stuff, then that means you don't have to worry about it, and then you get like a more higher quality event. You might not have as many people, you might not be making the money, but you kind of like, again, if you're hitting this 24 and your event becomes good enough, not all 24 of these guys are making it to Combo Breaker if you do it that weekend. And then what's funny about this Big House thing, more back to what I'm mentioning about, is since Smash is now large enough to actually be not only part of the FGC, but the FGC major events now depend on Smash entrance. This means that majors are now scheduling around Smash majors. Pretty much this is a 2+2 situation. You take scheduling during a major because it's just the time to do it. But if you're trying to avoid majors in general, then you aim for Smash majors, because guess what? The large majors are also trying to avoid Smash majors. So this was just prime weekend. Unfortunately, didn't come out with the entrance I was expecting, but it's still prime weekend. Aim for these weekends whenever you're trying to plan events like this, or just FGC events in general. And that's kind of what covers it with the preparation stuff. I did a $50 pot bonus. I'm not going to go into much into that. I just put it out of my pocket because I have a job and can afford it and stuff. So, covers preparations. Now we'll get to the execution. This is pretty much what happened here. So the very first problem we ran into, and oh, you know me, I like to blame someone when it technically is someone's fault and stuff, but I'm just gonna say it's not Game Arena's fault, but it is Game Arena's fault. Pretty much what happened is that the tournament room was double booked for my event and B-Day party. So, to be fair, the owner did tell me about this, or other staff members told me about this about a week before this happened, but the way Game Arena is set up is if you want a good stream, then you need the tournament room available, because that's where you're streaming from and stuff. The person who was doing the birthday assumed that he was getting said stream, and I was also requesting said stream. I guess the difference, I didn't mind letting it go because, A, this was my first Shoryuken Sunday and first time kind of working with GA in general, and 2, it's like this, you know, it's a birthday party. It's only gonna, I'm not gonna ruin this kid's birthday by being an ass about it, okay? There's no point, especially when I didn't hit the entrance I was thinking I was gonna hit anyway. The problem is the reason I'm even mentioning this is that a lot of, I was kind of expecting 0 setup on my part, instead did most setup. And kind of like, I'll kind of get more into this in reflection, but pretty much I had to decide how the rooms were going to be arranged, where the streamers are going, where the commentators are going, and I was kind of told I wouldn't have to worry about any of this. This is kind of the whole point of having GA be the stream, is that I don't have to organize that stuff. They're going to do it. And maybe that was a miscommunication part on my aspect, but the point is that it happened. I'm going to bring it up because that's the whole point of the show. With that said, you know, we had, he's watching now, but we had Big Boss pretty much step in even though he was off. He was just coming in to say hello and stuff, so shout outs to you. So yeah, that was big. And also, I'm even trying to think if I should mention it. We had some issues with like registration set up, but I got it resolved pretty quick, but I'll just mention it anyway. Confusion with smash.gg reg. Resolved before SF. Man, what was even the first event? Before SF3 started. Okay. So did that fine, and then, you know, once we got to bracket, it was just quick, and we didn't have that many entrants altogether. I think it was kind of like a 7, 8... Was it actually a 7, 8, 9, 10 split? Yeah, because I think Super Turbo had 8, Third Strike had 7, Street Fighter 4 had 9, and had 10. It's kind of funny. Bragging again, I'm a master bracket runner. Sorry, folks. I'll do a story, maybe I'll do a stream on how to bracket run properly if enough people ask for it, or a video on that. Wouldn't mind. It's just, there's a lot to, when you focus if you plan everything right and you actually practice bracket running, it's really not that bad. I feel a lot of people don't practice bracket running. I practice bracket running every week at Donato's, and I try to make it as hardcore as fast as possible. I keep track of times and PRs and techniques on how to catch up. Practice those techniques on how to catch up, and then apply them when I need to. That's a different ball game, though. So once we all got started, it was good. I guess I'll just mention during execution was lack of commentary. And I'll get more into that later, but we just didn't have a lot of it. And that kind of has to do with the tournament stream room feel as well. So, but this double book thing, yeah, I'm just mentioning it because I'm mentioning it. So, we still finished on time, though. Players got paid, and players had fun, so who cares? And then we had a Hitman stream, money matches, which I originally wanted GA to do, but it was just a timing thing, so I'm not that worried. So, all in all, it was a good event. I'd probably give it I guess I could do the grade after reflection, so yeah, and that kind of covers execution. So now we're in reflection. That's what happened here. So I'll just start with this. A lot of people love this event, or pretty much all the people that went to this thing loved it. They're going to come back probably. Maybe not the next one, but several of the next ones. Despite the lack of entrants, it's just that people got to play their games. Pretty much the only neg feedback I'll give were the setups, which is, again, actually I maybe didn't mention this, so I'll just list them here. ST, or Super Turbo, wants Super Guns. For those who don't know what a Super Gun is, it's a device that actually plays a arcade motherboard. So you're literally playing the version of Super Turbo that came out in 94, 95, or whatever year that was. And then the Third Strike, which is Street Fighter 3, but they call it Third Strike because it's the third Street Fighter 3 Wolverine. Okay, you're watching X-Men. So this one is Super Gun 2, but it's not. And the reason it's not is because the motherboard for that is much rarer, and I believe it's priced in the thousands, if not 2,000. And that's if you can even get someone to sell it. So they all kind of settle with pretty much the Xbox 360 version. Mostly because of the stick compatibility. I think maybe PS3 is acceptable too, if you need to like have cross systems and stuff. So Ultra Street Fighter 4. It's called Ultra Street Fighter 4 because it's the Ultra version of Street Fighter 4 after, you know, Super and Arcade and all that other fun stuff. They're actually preferred ones PS3. So funny thing about this, who don't know their history, we used to play... Actually, I'm going to even put 360 in front. We used to play exclusively on the 360 for probably the first 4 years of Ultra's life before the Pro Tour. Like, I learned how to use a 360 pad during this period. That's just what everyone played on. Is you got a 360, you had Marvel 3, you had Ultra Street Fighter 4, Third Strike came out in it, and that was cool too. I think even one of the Mortal Kombats was kind of around during that period that also did 360. And I'd have to look back at my old Cockatoos. But yeah, 360 was the fighting game system. Really weird to think about now. The main reason that all changed is because the Pro Tour happened, and the biggest sponsor of the Pro Tour is Sony. And the PlayStation 4 was coming out, so they said, hey, we'll sponsor you if you run Ultra on PS4. But PS4 has a lot of lag spikes with Ultra 4, or at least the disc version or the early on stuff. I didn't notice it much in the online or the digital version we were playing at the tournament, but it's definitely there. So I think the scene would actually prefer one of these two things. I prefer PS3 because I own a PS3, and I think more people own, well, actually I don't even know, more people might own 360 versions. I still have my copy of Ultra Street Fighter V on 360 because that was just how popular it was for that. So if Third Strike prefers 360, then we might do 360 on Ultra as well. It really comes down to the sticks. I think more stuff is compatible with PS3 than it is 360 these days, especially some PS4 stuff thanks to the legacy thing that happened. So we'll get to that. And then, you know, SF5, technically they prefer PC like I mentioned before, but we'll just do PS4. So pretty much, idea is that the people who are diehard passionate, back up here, passionate about their scenes, they want to be back into their setup stuff. So we're going to have this next time. The reason I did it this time is just because I didn't know how many setups I was going to have. I guess I should have mentioned during that execution. We had 3 setups total for all of it. We got done anyway because we didn't have that many people, but yeah, we had my setup. One of my friends supplied a anniversary edition, and Hitman has all of them also. So really we almost had 2 for most games, but that was enough because the games go that fast. It's nice because it means we don't need that many setups, but I'd rather have more setups than not, so that we just get the tournament done quicker, and it also means we have permanent casual setups for those who maybe wanted to come hang out. We have a lot of those in Columbus, and there's people who just don't have the money to enter tournaments, but they want to play matches, or maybe just do a single money match or something, and, you know, setups are good. We have the real space was not a concern at all, even with the double book. That was just, like, the one tournament room. We still got, like, a large party room and got the console corner, or whatever they call it. I call it the console corner. Maybe they should too, I don't know. But we had tons of space, so even if we had 2 setups per different console here, we'd still have tons of room for them, and then, you know, just how it goes. So I'll kind of reflect on the commentary situation. I finally think I nailed the problem down. So I've noticed there's Tekken people that like commentary, because Tekken players also, I love them, but they do have big egos, and they do love talking. They love it. I think it's great, and that's kind of the reason why. It's just a cocky game, and you get a cocky attitude, and you want to just talk your way through that you're, you know, better than everyone, your game's better than everyone, and your sound effects are better than everyone, and blah, 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 so on. So you get people that like to talk, or at least in Columbus. Some regions, maybe not as much, but then again, since he also has a lot of commentators, maybe it's just a Neo problem. Anime players, a lot of them don't like commentary as much as Tekken's, and I would even say that some don't like commentary, but a lot of anime fighting game players all come from the background of, like, hey, we really need to stick together. Because before the year of the anime, which is kind of before Eunice got popular in my books, and before Dragon Ball, I guess, pretty much it was like the lower tier of fighting games. Like, it was all Capcom titles. And Anime Fighters was even lower than Tekken, and Tekken was pretty low. Let me tell you. So I think it was more of like, a lot of those guys just have that, not that the other scenes don't, I'm saying that Anime Fighters have more of a need to come together. So I think it's more of like, you know what, this guy did all this work and brought all his equipment to stream, and there's no one commentating? Well, I'm going to commentate even if I'm still in bracket, or I'm going to commentate even though I'm not that good at it, because I want to help this guy. So I feel like anime players are more helping towards the scene, and that's why they're commentating, versus Tekken players want to commentate because they just want to hear them talk, essentially. It's kind of why I commentate a little bit, but people seem to like it for some reason. Street Fighter, I think that's where we kind of narrowed it down, is there is a lot more, I guess I'll just put it, SF is more esports. The idea is that you have to focus for the tournament because that's how important it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just explaining what I'm seeing here with this reflection thing. It kind of goes back to how I'm saying there's a misconception behind it. It's one of those like, hey, once I'm out of bracket, I'll commentate. Well, the problem is that it actually happened with Core Jam is that you were in losers finals, meaning you weren't available until only grand finals. And if you won that losers finals, that means you weren't available. And then there's other people that are like that too, even if they go, I'm not gonna make fun of them for going 0-2. It's a tournament. Everyone goes 0-2. It happens. Any player who doesn't go 0-2 is a liar. Ever. Pretty much, the idea is like, if everyone says they can't commentate until they're out of bracket, then you'll have no commentators for the first half of your bracket. So why even stream it? But then people want it streamed for their gameplay, but then they want commentary anyway. So I don't know. It'll be a fun puzzle to figure out. I'll kind of more talk about that iteration, I think. But yeah, we didn't have commentators except for when like I was free. This was going back into my old Kakato games where I'm running 6 brackets at once while playing in a bunch of them. I guess I didn't have commentary at the time, but I was also doing recordings, so I was kind of running a stream-ish at the same time. But we need, yeah, it kind of goes back to what I'm saying about the content and gatekeeping. It's happened here too. There's so much good, I don't want to even say good commentary. There's enough commentary that gets negative feedback for being decent that people don't even want to try at being decent. They want to only try if they can be great. And if you can't be great, then why try? But you can't be great unless you try. And so we need more of that. And it's good that I've kind of nicked this on the head. So I always wondered why this was the case in fighting game stuff. And looking back, it's, yeah, usually the Street Fighter players were usually the ones who didn't want to commentate. You get all the Street Fighter games put together, you get this phenomenal thing of no one wants to commentate. I will shout out, oh man, I'm so bad with the player names. We did have a guy who did commentate most of SF5 and I think 4, which was great. Shoot, I'm just gonna look him up. I don't know why I'm doing all this like hypothetical stuff when I can just like, you know, use the internet. It's like 2019. What are we doing here? I think it's crazy something. It's funny that I'm using Smash GG to look this up when I already had this written down in like my shoutouts thing. Crazy Sick 614, yeah, that's it. That guy. He commentated a lot. Also, Tillywink did a little bit too when he wasn't playing, but Tillywink also entered everything. Whereas Crazy only entered SF5. Crazy Sick, yeah, there you go. Thank you, Core Jam. Yeah, he did a lot of commentary. I was also told by other players he had good commentary too. And I think he didn't really do anything special. It's just, I don't know, it's... I guess I can't... I'm not going to be mad at the players for saying that they want to concentrate more on the tournament, but I also think part of that's because they're focusing on what they think commentary should be versus what it actually is. And then what it actually is a lot better. If you were going to just talk to your buddy... Say, like, you're up in 2 matches, and then your next match is actually on stream, and you're actually talking to your teammate before that match, and you're talking about what you're actually seeing on stream and everything. That's interesting. People would love to hear that conversation. Especially mid-level guys who are mostly watching these Ohio streams that are trying to catch up to all the Core Jams and Rob TVs and Hitmans and all that stuff. They need to hear that. And it's interesting, and it would be good. No, it's not going to be as good as, like, James Chen or whatever, but it doesn't have to be. It's not the point of this. It's all about, again, what the community can do to make SF5 as the other Street Fighters better. And, you know, if it's a Mike Shy thing, it's okay, but I don't know. I want to encourage people to commentate in situations that... I want people to get away from this idea of commentary being a professional thing where I have to do something right for a cast. Because you know what's worse than bad commentary it's dead airspace when you already have your streamer there. Like they, you know, if the commentary is that awful, that's a whole different ball game. Most of the time, it's not that awful. Okay, it's like it's manageable, and if people don't like it, then they, you know, mute it or whatever. But as a streamer on site and there's no one at that booth, it's like, why am I even here? I could have just recorded this, whatever. It again builds up the scene and stuff. So hopefully we get more into that. There was something in the reflection. Oh, I'll reflect more on this double book thing. So the other problem with this was that the normal stream guy was actually on vacation time because he was at Big House, as he should. He's a Melee player. I love Garrett a lot. So not only were they double booked with this other event, they were also down on staff, and that's also kind of why Big Boss stepped in. So I'm not worried about this happening again. Like, and even if it did, the more people that show up, the more people are going to want to help out anyway. Like, we would take care of it. This wasn't a normal thing. I don't recall it ever happening in the Smash stuff. If it really came down to it, if I had enough time this happened, then they would let me bring in Matchstick, and then I got our streamer and stuff. And he also commentates most of SF5 during just most of SF5. Him and Jad during every weekly in Columbus they commentate. So, you know, he's already experienced commentator, knows the scene well, and knows the scene. Well, yeah, knows the players, but also just knows the scene, knows his audience. So, you know, worst case we do that or something. So yeah, I'm not even gonna write it down here. So finally, this has been a long rant. We'll get to the iteration. Pretty much, if we're gonna do Sunday, I think an earlier starts than do. I liked being cute with, you know, SF5 starting at 5 and blah 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 so on. Maybe those times are okay. But the other reason we kind of need to start a little bit earlier so we can add the alpha games in there too. I'm not sure which one. I keep getting mixed reviews on Alpha 2 versus Alpha 3. I think my end goal is to have all of them. I mean, I'll do it. There's like 30 of these things. We'll have all of them. I mean, we'll do it. Give me a reason. You know, we can do it. Again, going with the setups, I'll actually just reach out, kind of like what I do with Kakato. With my Kakato, I usually have a lot more time with this, so it's different. Another reason I kind of didn't do the setup stuff is because one of the Super Gun owners in Columbus was on his honeymoon, Eli or Jupiter, or Ellie. Yeah, Ellie technically, but so... if he can come to the next one, or at least let us one, I don't know. We'll figure this out. And the stream, for those who are wondering, even though it's an old arcade thing, there are HDMI converters so you can stream really easily and stuff. We'll get into that. And then finally with, again, being more community GA driven, when I actually get the date for this, I'm going to, like, try to reach out to people to, like, make the stuff we need. Like, hey, does anyone want to cut a trailer? Hey, does anyone want to cut a image? You know, and then... I'll use my threat of, hey, if you don't want to make a good image, then this is what we got. And then that's when I essentially go into Paint with the last image and just, like, I don't know. I'm not good at Photoshop. I play video games, run tournaments. I'm not going to do your art. Again, we're trying to make this more of a Street Fighter thing. We don't have a real strong monthly in Columbus until Outer Haven does one, but even then... you kind of lose the individuality of each scene. And one of the cool things I've realized with Columbus is each scene has its own personality, has its own charm, and more importantly can sustain itself. So we need to express that. There's a lot of great SF5 artists out there. I don't know if they have the time to do such a thing or if they want to. I can't remember the name of Ocelot's Youth's company, but, you know, I'm not saying that he has to help, but I'm saying there's a lot of people like him who can do this kind of stuff. And that's also true with the commentary stuff. And if people need advice on commentary, I've been commentating for 10 years, and I'm told I'm a really good one. You can find, like, videos of me at, like, Brawl Majors back in 2012 for crying out loud. And if you don't know my commentary, check out the Tekken stuff. But other than that, it's, I guess, just, you know, advertising. You know, not just on my end, but, like, I guess Justin and Kev mentioned this too. INGAN. So, like, you know, advertising's always been my worst strong suit because I just can't keep up with all them kids in the social medias while I'm at work, for personal reasons and other reasons too. And you know, all the groups are hard to manage. Like, there's even people that will get paid to mention them in all the big lists of groups they stuff. But point is that I can still reach out to more of the Street Fighter leaders who gave me all the great feedback that I was talking about, and then those guys can go out and help me and stuff. Then it becomes a pyramid scheme. Game Arena can produce said content because they have the VODs and they have the talent already on site and stuff, as well as advertising, more importantly, to non-FGC members, which is kind of one of my dreams that I kind of want to start trying to pursue with more of these specialized events. If I'm a brand new player who only wants to play in Street Fighter and I show up to a, no offense, a Reflex, I'm only going to be there for the few hours of that tournament, and then I feel like it's not even an event for me anymore because all of a sudden Dragon Ball's on the stream and stuff, and all the Street Fighter players have left. But if you know, make it more, you know, this still could happen here because the 4 games are so different, but at least it's still Street Fighter. Like, if I know how to throw a Hadouken and Super Turbo, I can throw a Hadouken and a Shoryuken in every single one of these games, and reuse moves, like, act a little differently, but they're all mostly there, and they try to keep the lore together like that. It sucks Ryu's not as good in SF5, but he's fantastic in Third Strike and Super Turbo, so, and he's decent in that one, so there's that advertisement stuff. And that concludes iteration. So I'll just scroll the chat and stuff. And sadly not tell more Tekken stuff. I'm assuming that lull is to where I was saying all the Street Fighter players hate other Street Fighters. Hate's a strong word, but it might not be strong enough. Oh, man. And, yeah, Akuma is quite the threat in all of them. It's actually funny. I think he's the least threatening in SF4 than he is in the other ones. And I'm not sure why that is. It just seems like that. Maybe SF3, just because of how good Ken is. But Super Turbo, he's just flat out banned, and you know, we've all seen him in SF5, and then there's Tekken. And yeah, I know anytime, but I'm still going to thank you, since this will be a VOD anyway. And we'll have more funds together and stuff. And then finally, thank you, Core Jam, for reminding me who the player was. Seconds, probably minutes before I got to it because of Smash GG speed. I am completely cool with SF Cross Tekken. It's just not will be my priority. I'd rather get the other SFs going because people want this to have more alphas and stuff. And then once they have enough people there, then that's when you go like, hey, who wants to play that game that's underrated, that you all say is underrated, but you won't show up if we have a tournament for? It's called Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Alright, and that concludes this episode of OPERI. I think the next episode I'll end up doing will probably be the Tekken Caliber at November, which will be Tekken Caliber 7, or I might do a old OPERI or a scene-related OPERI sometime this month, but we'll see because I'm uploading a double feature, so probably not. Alright, that concludes the OPERI. See you next time.